Did you ever hit her? Did you ever injure her?
No, no. My God, no. Violence towards women is unapproachable. It is the most disgusting act to me. And I know that suspicion has turned to me. And it's turned to me, one, because I'm her husband. And that's a natural thing. And I've heard all the statistics on all the news shows about that being, someone that a husband, ex-husband, a boyfriend, that is statistically one who would be responsible for her disappearance. And I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so he starts off, his respiration is up. You can't miss it. His color or his collar is rising and dropping. His internal conversation's back, his eyes down to left. Then he goes, no, no, God, no. Holy ground. Immediately jumps to something, as God is my witness. Those are things that every one of us interrogating would go, hold on. Why is God your witness? No, no, God, no. And then he does one eyebrow up in some kind of skepticism of her, and it may even be contempt. And then as he does this disappearance and pushes his tongue out, right at the end of that, and I'm not a big micro-expression guy, look for a micro-expression of fear, that flatness in his face. If you pause it, you'll see a micro-expression of fear. And if I see it, you're going to be able to see it really easily because I don't use those very much. And he eye blocks and raises his eyebrows at the same time, which is a hard one to do. That has to be something going on inside your head to cause it because you don't usually do it. And then I'm not going to take everything, but I'm going to say, my notes say, rambling BS answer, which is exactly what I think all this is. And then he finally says, I wish he would just say what he's thinking. I've been trying to avoid your questions so hard, I can't remember what you asked me. Because he rambles forever. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, there's a generalization. He takes it from something which is about him into violence against women generally. So that's a redirect, I would suggest. And then he comes to, I think, authority, natural statistics, news shows, husband, ex-boyfriend. Although this is focusing it on him, what he's doing is going, I've really researched this. So I kind of know the way you're thinking about me. And surely I wouldn't think and research this with such authority if I'd actually done this thing. So he's trying to use these authority tags here to put us off the trail, I believe. And ultimately he goes through such a list there that he redirects himself to such an extent that I truly believe he forgets what the original question was. I think, based on this idea, this premise at the start, that perhaps there's some, mood adjusting drugs involved. And he is, when you think about that, he does start to sound like somebody just leaning against a bar, telling the bartender the story, exactly, so 7 whiskeys into it, I can't believe what happened in this. But all the same, he's lost his own story. I believe he's redirected so much. So that's what I got on that one. Chase, what do you got?
So I just want to say that I think killing other people is bad to me. I mean, that's my opinion. But I wouldn't need to say that because we all agree that violence is bad, unless I'm trying to force you to see me as a good person or force you to look at me a certain way. And I think this is the most telling thing I've ever seen, that the statistics that he's quoting here don't say that it's the husband, boyfriend, fill in the blanks, whoever that's responsible for the disappearance. It's not the word disappearance. It's murder. That's what the statistics say, murder. So what we're seeing, we are witnessing his comfort level with replacing the word murder with disappearance. So we're literally seeing that he's taken the word murder from the statistics and replaced it with disappearance. And he's comfortable doing that here in his interview. And I think that tells us quite a bit. And I think this is a perfect textbook single shoulder shrug. Say that 3 times fast. I wish you guys could leave us audio comments in the video down here. when he's responsible for her disappearance, there's a perfect little shrug there. And there's that micro expression after the word disappearance, which is almost a pucker. And Mark does that perfect thing where he's talking about a lemon, which I think is associated with disagreement. I think anytime a pucker, you can say there's probably some disagreement going on there. Scott.
Okay. Well, we're seeing a lot of the we're revisiting the classics here. In body language, we're seeing fading facts, or we're hearing fading facts, in other words. And I think the reason that he loses his place when she asks him the question, he gets down to the end, I can't remember, because he's so wrapped up in trying to remember what he's supposed to say. I agree with you, Mark. At the same time, I think what's happening is he knows whether they've said, here's the questions you can ask, and you ask these and nothing else. Maybe that's happened. Maybe he found out what the questions were, or maybe, like, and when you get witness prep happen and you say, this is probably going to be what the questions are, here's how you answer those. He's ready. And I think that's when he's looking down. That's where he's going, is to recall those things, is to recall his answers. And he gets so far along in that and gets off trail just for a second and then loses his place. And he can't find his way back to what the question was. That's why he doesn't know the questions he's asking isn't really what he's concerned about. He thinks he's answered that already, but then he starts adding those qualifiers onto the end of it, because it's a pretty big deal when you get asked questions like that. So he's trying to make her believe that he's being honest with her. And then we see at what's supposed to be, when he starts talking about something being disgusting, it's a really lame, if it even is an attempt to show disgust, an expression of disgust. He doesn't show it. Disgust is like, ugh, that's disgust. But this guy I got a big nose, so you can see this easily. His nostrils flare just a little bit, and his mouth kind of comes up along the sides here. But it happens wrong. It doesn't happen the right way. It doesn't happen in the middle and start on the sides of the nose there. We won't get into the technicalities of what that's called because it's boring. But these little parts right here, when you do that's part of it, and it involves your nose. So maybe that's why I noticed it. So we're not seeing a true expression of disgust there. His blink rate's still really slow. He's still locking in with her, with his eyes. He's still looking at her and trying to make that contact with her. And what he's doing, Chase, you got to help me come up with a word for this, because I mention it all the time and I can't figure out anything to call it. You're good at that. But as he's going through this, as he's feigning this emotional horror that he's going through, this horrible emotional feeling he's going through, he looks away, and he's looking away to give her permission to look at him and to observe, quote unquote, his pain and what he's going through. That's what he's doing there. I don't have a name for it. I'm sure by the time this is over, Chase will squirt one out. But as far as that goes, I don't have a name for it. But that's what's happening at that point. Chase, what do you got?
Mask display.
Mask display.
That's a good one.
I think
that's pretty good.
That's a good one, but it's
close up,
included with eye aversion or gaze aversion.
Yeah,
I think that's included.
It is. Yeah, and Greg's right with that. When you draw in that way, but the sole purpose of doing this is just to let her observe him going through this pain. There's that. So
it's feigned emotional display is all it is, right?
Yeah.
It's all it is. Yep.
FED.
Well, I trained some clients to give a moment for viewers to see them without being seen. So just a move away, do something somewhere else, just so that you can be observed without you observing the observer. It causes the observer of you to feel more confident in how they're feeling about you, because you didn't notice that they were looking at that point. So you can't have been putting on a mask at that point, because you were just checking something else out. So they feel like they've seen the authentic you because you were messing about with something else.
There you go.
Well, if you watch movies, actors do it all the time. And I think we are conditioned by movies to think that's how people respond to move and act. And when you see a really bad movie and they don't do that and they're doing all their emotion in front of you and it looks like a really horrible mask, I think that's why people instinctively think that's how people normally look, even if we know it's not true.
Yeah. And that I'll go back to that part where he talks about the violence towards women, how it's disgusting for him. If you read that's a Twitter post. Perfect. And be like, what do you think about violence, women and violence? And he would that's what he would go like, I got this. I know this one. Then women.
I think
that's what that is.
really weird that he used the word unapproachable.
Yeah, well, I
He's
think
got some really, he's got
prepared this shit
real
in his
words
head.
in here. Yeah. He's got, coming up.
a lot of
he's got some
prepared, a
real
lot of
weird
canned
words.
responses. A lot of canned responses are coming out of this guy. If you notice, the one interesting thing is fight or flight started because his upper lip is getting wet. I love that part of the whole thing that we didn't, none of us mentioned. So,
Yeah. Okay.
It's true.
We
When
good?
he started on the violence thing, I thought he was going to go for violent delights and violent. I thought it was Ramirez all over again.
Others going to hashtag it with something, that and hashtag no violence towards women, something like that. So,
Did you ever hit her? Did you ever injure her?
No, no, my God, no. Violence towards women is unapproachable. It is the most disgusting act to me. And I know that suspicion has turned to me. And it's turned to me, one, because I'm her husband. And that's a natural thing. And I've heard all the statistics on all the news shows about that being, someone that a husband, ex-husband, a boyfriend, that is statistically one who would be responsible for her disappearance. And I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
if you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.